Burning Question, presented by Greenply, powered by Honda Elevate and Reliance Terra.
Hello, welcome you watching The Burning Question with me, Shavinson. Ladies and gentlemen, over 900 Israelis have been killed in the last 4 days in the Israel-Hamas war, where 150 soldiers and civilians have been held hostage by the terrorists. What we are essentially witnessing unfolding before our eyes is that intense retaliatory strikes that are being carried out by the IDF. But the question that is essentially being asked, how exactly will Israel respond to what is being seen as one of the worst terrorist attacks that has been carried out on Israeli soil? In the last 50 years or so, there have been multiple skirmishes between Israel and Hamas. But what we witnessed on Saturday was absolutely barbaric. You have about 7 to 8 cities where Hamas terrorists have infiltrated. And the reason why Israel is now saying that while the fight may have been started by the Hamas, it is going to be finished by them. Perhaps an indication that this time it could be a full-fledged ground invasion. However, no confirmation has really come in from the Israeli side as yet, but several indications coming in that this time the retaliation is going to be way different than what we witnessed in the past. Take a look at this report and then we begin the burning question. Over 900 Israelis have been killed in the 4-day Israel-Hamas war. Over 150 soldiers and civilians held hostage by the terrorists. Israeli forces continue to hit back. Hamas posts in downtown Gaza City reduced rubble. At least 1,500 Hamas terrorists killed. Benjamin Netanyahu vows retaliation, says they will end the war that Hamas started. Prime Minister Modi reiterates support to Israel, thanks Netanyahu for calling and discussing war situation. World powers stand firmly in support of Israel in this fight against terrorism as war continues to rage on. Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei denies his country was behind Hamas attack against Israel. With the biggest reporting team on the ground, Republic Digital gets exclusive reports from the war zone. Well, the attack by Hamas that was launched on Saturday is equal to the biggest and deadliest incursion into Israel since Egypt and Syria launched a sudden assault in an effort to reclaim lost territory 50 years ago. With each passing day, the situation is only getting worse. But this time, Israelis are now saying that it is going to be way different. How exactly would that be the case? How are they really hitting back? Take a look at this report.
It's now 3:25 a.m. here in Sderot. The flares are lighting up the night over Gaza. Smoke is visible even on a cloudy night and a rainy night like tonight, one of the first rains of the winter. Wave after wave of airplanes is coming over Gaza, delivering their payroll for at least an hour now, if not more. Airplanes are mainly attacking the upper-class neighborhoods where Hamas leadership lives. Symbols of Hamas sovereignty. Banks, Islamic Waqf institutions, police stations. There's no internet has gone down. There's now no water, no electric, no gas coming into Gaza.
Hamas launched a deadly attack on Israel over the weekend.
I just want to show you right next to my house, there was a direct hit, which you can see right what does it mean? It means basically that they're launching more than hundreds rockets each time, so they can miss basically the abilities of the Iron Dome that intercepts the rockets in the sky.
Derat remains one of the worst hit places. It is the closest city to the Gaza border and has been deeply impacted by the war.
The Air Force planes are coming every few minutes. Farther south, if I here move the camera left, you see farther south. I don't know if you can see. Yes, here it is. That big, here, that sound. What you're hearing in the background, it says Tseva Adom, color red. That means the missiles are going to come in now. I'm not really in a safe place, but let's see. Here, let's see what we can see. Missiles are coming. Wow. Oh wow. There, wow. See that? That's the interception rocket. Wow. Wow. It landed on a building right nearby. Right there, right across the street. Oh my. Oh, it's still going. It's still going.
Israeli forces was clearly mentioned that they are going to retaliate and they are completely ready now. As we can see, the confidence about the Israeli forces has it and they are on their way. As we can see, they are going to retaliate. हम देख रहे हैं कि फिलहाल इजरायली फोर्सेस जो यहाँ पर मौजूद है उन्हीं के साथ रिपब्लिक की क्रू जो है वो फिलहाल मौजूद है और हम देख रहे हैं कि जो जवाब देने की बात की गई थी, इजराइल ने साफ तौर पर कहा था कि जो अटैक की शुरुआत की गई थी गाजा हमास के ओर से, वो अब उसका जवाब इजरायली फोर्सेस देंगे।
की जो सेनाएं हैं वो फॉरवर्ड की ओर जा रही हैं और संदेश बिल्कुल साफ है कि दुश्मन को जो है निस्त नाबूद कर रहा है। हमसे बात करते हुए कई जो सैनिक हैं जो इजराइल डिफेंस फोर्सेस के हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि लोगों को एक बात हम बताना चाहते हैं कि हमें जो है वो जीत मिलेगी और इजराइल जो है वो हमास के आतंकियों को पूरी तरह से निस्त नाबूद करेगा, जो ठीक इस तरफ इशारा करता है कि कितने हौसले जो हैं वो यहाँ पर इजरायली सेना के बुलंद हैं और इन बुलंद हौसलों के साथ ही इजराइल की सेना जो है वो अग्रिम इलाकों की ओर यहाँ पर अग्रसर है। इस इलाके से बेहद खास और साफ संदेश यहाँ पर इजराइल की तरफ से देने की कोशिश जो है वो भी की जा रही है।
एजेंसी रिपोर्ट, रिपब्लिक टीवी।
Well, joining us on the burning question tonight is Ilaha Butera. He's a citizen joining us from Sderot. Remember, that happens to be one of the worst affected areas. Ilaha, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. We also have Sean Bolnick. Sean happens to be a tech expert who's now part of the reserve force of the IDF. Sean, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. And Professor Syed Mohammad Marandi is joining us from Tehran. First, I would like to spend a little bit time with Sean, because Sean essentially represents the spirit of Israel at this point in time. The number of youngsters who have joined the reserve force, many that we have been speaking to through the day, are essentially talking about the fact that this is a difficult moment for everyone in Israel, but this is a fight that they are going to take it to the end. Sean, just about 48 hours ago, when my team was speaking to you, they were speaking to you just as an ordinary citizen of Israel, as a tech expert. Today I speak to you as someone who's part of the IDF. First, I would like your thoughts of what you are witnessing unfolding before your eyes as a member of the IDF.
So first of all, thank you for having me. What I'd like to say to start off with is just my heart goes out to all the families of those who've been killed, wounded, and to those who have been taken hostage into the Gaza Strip, which is not only a war crime on the level of kidnapping innocent civilians, as we know. It is frowned upon pretty much in any acceptable society. The last 48 hours have been extremely tough for everybody associated with this country. Everybody knows someone or knows someone who knows of someone who was killed or captured. Now, you know, as you said, you started off talking to me as a civilian, then to being called up. Obviously, there's a few nerves, but more than anything, we are proud to be able to defend not only our families, our friends, and our fellow civilians.
Sean, in the last 48 hours, the indication that essentially came in that this is going to be way different. In the past two, you've had this battle with Hamas, but this time, as I speak to most of my friends in Israel, they say that it's going to be very different because they believe that all this while, perhaps there was this nudge, nudge, wink, wink approach that was taken by Israel. Perhaps it is time to take full control of Gaza, is what several people have been talking. I want to understand from you, as far as being a part of IDF, what has the strategy been right now? What is it that you are aiming?
Look, obviously, I can't talk of, you know, for the army. That's what they have the spokesperson. I can talk to you as some, you know, a citizen of Israel. What I think you're seeing at the moment is just the very beginning stages of what I'm sure is going to be a very painful and strong retaliation against the Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, but predominantly Hamas. Heavy aerial bombardments, which I'm sure you've heard about and seen, and I can see on the screen as well that you've seen. And, you know, the massive buildup of reserve forces. Obviously, I'm in no position to say what the army is going to do next or anything like that. But what I can say is everybody in Israel is wanting, as you say, for a change in the status quo. For years, we've been having these back and forth cycles of operations, few days of rockets and aerial bombardments, but this needs to be, and I'm hoping will be a change to that, where we deal a serious blow to Hamas and make them pay for their war crimes and some of the barbaric acts that they did, where they massacred 900 people and took very many innocent civilians, toddlers, elderly, into Hamas and Hamas-held territory, and now it's time for them to pay for their crimes.
Sean, by joining the IDF, you do realize the risk that you're essentially taking. Like you, Sean, I understand several youngsters who are more than willing to be a part of the IDF, serve the nation at this point in time. But I also would like to understand where does the courage really come in from at this point in time for many like you, Sean, in Israel, as they pick up the guns, as they are ready to serve the nation? What is it that runs through your mind at this point in time?
First thing I would like to say is, you know, none of us in Israel want to ever go to war. Nobody wants to go out and spill blood. We would love to, in an ideal world, live in peace. But when we've been forced into this situation, into an unprovoked attack, where many hundreds of our fellow brothers and sisters have been killed, We are proud, first of all, to be able to have the opportunity to defend those behind us. So I think that's a very important thing, is that we know we are there to protect our family and our friends. And it makes it very, very personal. Whereas, in the past, you may have had wars in the Middle East, whether it be America and Afghanistan or Iraq, millions, many, many miles away from their families, and they feel kind of disconnected. But when you have your family sitting maybe 20, 30-minute drive, sometimes even less from the border, and they have incessant rocket attacks and the threat of infiltrations, it makes it very, very real and personal to you. You know that what you're doing is to try and protect those that you love.
Sean, before I also bring in my other guests who are joining us on the burning question, I would like to take one more question with regards to the current situation. As we understand that there has been troop mobilization towards southern Israel, what's the current situation like? While indications have come in that perhaps Israel is going to go in for the ground invasion, what's the current situation in terms of the fight back that Israel witnesses from the Hamas side? If you could just recap for all our viewers.
Sure. So, a lot of people in the immediate aftermath of the terrible attacks, the first instinct of a lot of people, especially those outside of Israel, screaming to take over the Gaza Strip, flatten it, whatever it may be. But what a lot of people don't realize is obviously an operation like that comes at a cost of human life. Also, there are also innocent civilians in Gaza at the same time. Not everyone in Gaza is a terrorist, even though there are several thousand armed terrorists in the Gaza Strip. So I just think it's important to remember that, as I said, none of us in Israel wanted to be in this situation. It was a war that was brought onto us, and now we're going to take the fight to Hamas, and we'll do whatever is needed to protect our family and friends and to make sure that everybody can, especially those who are living by the border, can be at peace, wake up on a Saturday morning at 6:30 and not have somebody invading their small communities and get gunned down in their home. So I just hope that all my friends and my family members in the army will come home safely. And I just sending my love and support to everyone in Israel.
Well, thank you very much, Sean. I'll just request you to stay on with us as I carry forward the conversation with Elaha Butera. Elaha, thank you very much for joining us. You are joining us from a city which has largely borne the brunt all this while. And as I was going through those horrific images of Hamas terrorists using at least 2 jeeps entering on Saturday morning, indiscriminately firing at the residential buildings. Elaha, I just want to understand from you, what is it that you witnessed unfolding in the last 24 to 48 hours in Sderot, which happens to be one of the worst affected?
Hi there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Elaha, please go ahead.
I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Elaha, we'll try and just fix your audio line.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me right now, Elaha? We'll just try and reconnect with Elaha Butera in a short while from now. Professor Syed Mohammad Morandi, let me come to you. Iran faces some very serious accusations. I spoke to a ruling parliamentarian last evening. They say that Iran can keep hiding as much as they want, but it is very clear that Hamas perhaps could not have carried out this surprise attack without the support of Iran. Your supreme leader says that you have got nothing to do, but having said that, can you really deny that Hamas leaders were meeting your leadership in Tehran?
We fully support Hamas. We fully support Islamic Jihad. We are opposed to apartheid and supremacism in Palestine. We are opposed ethnic cleansing and the brutality that the Palestinian people have been witnessing for 75 years. The terror against Palestinian people is daily. On average, a Palestinian dies in the West Bank almost every day, usually teenagers. This is not a new event. This is a response to years of subjugation, years of racism, years to institutional racism, and preventing children and women, and preventing children and women from even accessing medicine. So the real terror is the Israeli regime that constantly bombs Gaza, kills thousands of people. And these are people who lived in Palestine. They were expelled from their homes and sent to Gaza. And by the way, I do not do debates with Israeli citizens.
If I'm to understand.
And I was told that there were no Israeli citizens, and that's why I participated. And out of respect to you, I did not leave. But I did not do discussions with supremacists. If there are Israeli supporters in the United States, I'm willing to discuss with them. But people who systematically suppress Palestinians, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should go back to their home countries and leave the Palestinian people alone. And we are not ashamed of supporting the Palestinian people.
Professor Marandi, are you justifying? Okay, no, the debate is this. I am asking you, as the anchor, I am asking you this question, Professor Marandi, because what I see right now, what my reporters from the ground are sending is the brutality with which Hamas has been operating. I can give you numerous instances of the genocide that has been committed by the Hamas. Hamas should be the last to really claim that they are justified in what they have been doing all this while. Right from gaining power in Gaza to what they are doing right now, when you have innocent Israelis who were inside a shelter, they were brutally assaulted, attacked. Women, children, all have been brutally attacked. And are you really justifying that? Are you saying that jihadi terrorism is the way out?
Well, the name jihadi terrorism is actually something that you should be asking Western governments about, because the jihadi terrorism that you speak of is a creation of CIA. We saw it in Afghanistan. We saw it in Syria. We saw it in Libya. We saw it in Iraq. So when we speak about ISIS and Al-Qaeda, we know quite well where it came from. This current U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, in an email to Hillary Clinton in 2012, I think it was February the 12th, 2012, he said that in Syria, Al-Qaeda is on our side. And the Israeli regime was supporting ISIS and Al-Qaeda alongside the Golan Heights during the war in Syria, during the dirty war in Syria. Anyone can look this up and find it. But the point is that it is not about Hamas. It is not about Islamic Jihad. It is a systematic racism and brutality that has been going on for decades. The people of Gaza are in the biggest open prison in the world. 2.2 million people.
What, Mr. Professor Marandi, you are completely ignoring.
They've denied them food. They've denied them medicine, and they're bombing them day and night. And you're speaking about Hamas.
But Professor Marandi, what you're forgetting is that the long record beginning from Oslo Accord to what we have witnessed with several prime ministers of Israel essentially indicating that a peace pact to be worked out. But where can you really have peace when Hamas is nothing less than a terrorist organization by opening fronts the way they have, killing innocent people? Scores of people have been killed, and then you are saying that look at what has happened inside Gaza Strip. Now, Gaza, what has happened in Gaza, Professor Marandi, what you're forgetting for a very long time is that your leadership, the Hamas leadership does not believe in peace. Hamas leadership does not believe in peace. All that Hamas has been essentially doing is brutally killing, murdering Israelis.
Let me respond. Hamas is in Gaza. In the West Bank, where there's no war going on right now, since the Oslo Accords, the Israeli regime has been colonizing the land, bringing in people from Europe and North America to colonize the land. Is that in accordance with the Oslo Accord? The Israeli regime, they invaded Lebanon all the way to Beirut. They carry out atrocities not just in Palestine. They do it in Lebanon, in Syria. On a regular basis, they bomb Syrians. They support extremist groups on the Syrian border because they want to weaken the Syrian government. In Palestine, as we speak, people are being denied
I'm sorry, I'm
food,
interrupting
electricity. I think you have to really rethink that. Your reporter should go to Gaza. She would not dare do that because she would probably die. There is no moral equivalence here. And there is no balance of power.
That's only, Professor Marandi, that's only because when you have terrorists roaming on the streets, perhaps you would not expect anyone to really report fairly from Gaza, because you would have only people who have been on your payroll essentially reporting from inside Gaza. But thank you very much, Professor Marandi. I want to also go to Ilaha right now. Ilaha, you've heard. I'm not really going to focus right now on Iran's perspective. As far as Iran is concerned, while they may continue saying that they have got nothing to do so, I'm assuming that the Israeli leadership will perhaps put out evidence with regards to Iran's role with this particular pre-planned attack. Ilaha, I want to come to you for something completely different about the current situation in Sderot, and I would want our viewers here in India to understand what the Israelis are essentially going through. And Sderot, from where reporters have been sending us that multiple dispatches, they are perhaps extremely worrisome. You have Hamas terrorists who are holed up inside police stations. What is the current situation like? What is it that you have gone through in the last 24 hours? Yes, Ilaha, please go ahead. Ilaha, can you hear me?
I don't think he can hear you.
Well, in fact, we seem to be having some problem with Ilaha. Ilaha, we'll perhaps try and get back to you on some other program of ours, but thank you very much for joining us.
Can you hear me?
Ilaha, yes, I'm running out of time, but I'm sorry, I'll get you back on our program once again, but let me have a quick word with you before I let you go.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Ilaha? Can you hear me? If you can, then just I want a quick response from you with regards to what is it that you have witnessed in the last 24 hours.
Can you hear me now?
We seem to be having a problem with connecting with it. Ilaha, we seem to be having some problem with your audio line. We'll try and reconnect in a while from now. Sean, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. We wish you all the very best.
Before I go, I just wanted to say thank you to your TV show, and especially with the way you handled the situation with the gentleman from Iran, spreading the truth and not letting propaganda and evil not go unanswered.
Well, in fact, as a nation, perhaps Iran too will have to answer. What really happens from the Lebanon side is something that we'll also be keeping a close watch on. Thank you very much, Sean. I'm extremely sorry, Ilaha, we couldn't get you on this show. We are hoping that you'll join us once again and telling everyone what is it that you've gone through. Perhaps some horrific images really coming in from cities like Sderot and Ashkelon, from where Republic Digital reporters are getting us the latest report. Thank you very much for joining us on The Burning Question. On the other side, the trending burning question with my colleague Abhishek.
In the India Today Best Universities 2023 survey, released recently, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.
trending burning question powered by Reva University. Century Ply Laminates. Co-powered by ACCO Insurance.
Welcome friends to this section of Trending Burning Question. As humanity faces its biggest test yet against barbaric terrorism of Hamas in Israel, and as the world stands one with the Jewish nation in its time of tragedy, we have had world leaders coming out in open support of Israel. But then we have one world leader, Justin Trudeau of Canada, who has been tweeting about his calls to nations and their leaders, and then slipping in that he has been talking to them about India. It's a farce, if not comedy. And then we had a Canadian journalist, Daniel Boardman, coming out yesterday and suggesting that he has been receiving calls. We'll try to find out from whom, suggesting that he should distance himself from India and Indians, given the kind of position he has taken in the last 1 month in the backdrop of India-Canada standoff over Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar killing. Let's look at what Justin Trudeau has been up to, and then I come back with Daniel Boardman on the other side.
Not an iota of evidence, and this is how Trudeau put India-Canada relations at stake.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
The world asked tough questions and Trudeau was left scratching head.
Prime Minister Modi confirm or deny these allegations when you talked to him about them?
As I said, I had a direct and frank conversation with the Prime Minister in which I shared my concerns in no uncertain terms.
All he could utter was credible evidence.
As I said on Monday, there are credible reasons to believe that agents of the government of India were involved in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil.
I mean, if I understand correctly, are you suggesting that the evidence was extensive? Is that what you're saying?
I'm repeating what I said on Monday afternoon, that there are credible allegations that we need to take extremely seriously.
Till today, the world is yet to see that credible evidence. And when a Canadian journalist questioned Trudeau, he was repeatedly told that he got the Nijjar case wrong. Canadian journalist Daniel Boardman was warned that it was not good for him as a Jew to have a pro-Modi stance. He was told that Modi and BJP are a very anti-Semitic. But Daniel stands proven right, with Modi government strongly condemning Hamas and expressing solidarity with Israel. And several weeks later, Trudeau is still empty-handed. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
All right, joining me live from Toronto is Daniel Boardman himself. Daniel, good to have you on our broadcast. We were going through the blog you wrote on the social media website X, and it got our attention. Now, let's go one by one. You begin by saying that you have been receiving calls of late, which sort of suggest that you should be careful about the position you are taking. Now, tell us to begin with, what is the tone and tonality of these calls? Are these suggestions or are they beyond that? Is there an element of intimidation in the calls that you have been receiving?
No intimidation. These are done as friendly, reaching out. Your best interest is at heart. I'm just trying to help you. Hey, as a Jew, did you know that the BJP has roots in the RSS, either Chandra Bose? Listen, I understand what Chandra Bose did, but I also understand that he didn't like make alliances with the Germans to like kill Jews. It was about British colonialism at the time. Like a bunch of different weird alliances happened during world wars that like outside the thing. So there's no like, you know, Nazi ideology as it's known in the German sense in the root. Like, and I knew that. And I said, like, yeah, they'd send you pictures of people in India with swastikas. Like, I don't know the first thing about Hinduism, that's a Hindu symbol. Listen, I'm not an expert on it, but I know what the swastika means in India is not what it means in Germany. And, you know, I spoke to the Indian community, you know, Hitler's Hakenkreuz versus the swastika. So I knew this, but I mean, maybe I thought this was less of a big deal than other people. When you start to get attention and when you start to have some sort of influence, especially in Canada, people are going to reach out to you and say all sorts of things, either try and ingratiate themselves to you to gain some of it, or to try and control you, or, you know, who knows where they're from this party, that party, whatever. My actual overlying point, though, was I said this because of the Israel-Palestine thing and the position Congress took pro-Palestine versus the BJP, which was very pro-Jewish community. So I said this more as like a caution also to like the Jewish community about the types of propaganda being used against Indians is the same used against us. That's kind of what brought me on to a lot of Indian politics in the first place, especially around Kashmir in 2019, I believe, when I just noticed that the organizations that are deeply anti-Semitic and support all types of terrorism, the stuff they started saying about Hindutva, Kashmir, Modi, it was all the same things they say about Israel and Jews. They didn't even change the script. They literally just took Jews out, Hindus in, Zionist out, Hindutva in, and it's the same propaganda rhetoric. And my point is more as a warning, I guess, to Jews and caution. The same ideologues who tried to undermine us are trying to undermine our relationship with what looks to be our strongest ally, the Hindu community in India, who's the morally clear-headed people I've seen, who you don't need to be convinced that the people cheering while they're killing babies are the bad guys. Like, sorry?
Daniel.
Yes, so
Daniel,
my point was sort of the end, what I thought was the big focus was, you know, don't fall for this propagandistic narrative because it was used to undermine our community. And I don't want to say it happened to another community. And it's really insidious because it has this lie, or it's not even a lie, it's an anti-truth, that there's like this anti-Semitic element among the Indian right wing, when as someone who's spent time with them,
Daniel,
at least anti-Semitic.
Daniel, you know, let's begin at the beginning. You seem to be suggesting that these people are not liking your position that you have taken post the Hardeep Singh Nijjar row between India and Canada. Are these the people who know you, or they have just come to know of you now that you have some celebrity, and because they are not liking that as a Canadian you are taking a position which is not very visibly pro-Canada, so they are sort of asking you to pull back? And in that case, who are these people? If you can just elaborate, just to give us an idea of who are these people, because, you know, we have, since the controversy broke out, we have tried to reach out to a lot of people in the Canadian establishment, in the agencies, in the government, to speak on behalf of Trudeau or in favor of Trudeau, and it has been very difficult to get people to speak in favor of Trudeau, at least insofar as the Khalistani row is concerned. So who are these people really who are sort of cautioning you to not take the position you are taking?
Like, I don't exactly, like, these are not close friends, let's say, that I know. A lot of them, you know, I kind of knew them. They had used pseudonyms online and, you know, claimed to be someone else's thing. So again, I didn't want to make this post public. I wanted to keep it, because it's better to know who's feeding you disinformation or bad intel, so you can just keep it, right? You don't want to burn this and then have someone new, right? So I assume these people will never reach out to me again, but someone else will try and I don't know, ask me. So I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know who they're connected to. All I know is they didn't know the first thing about the Khalistani issue. They didn't know anything about Hardeep Singh Nijjar's connections, his Khalistan Tiger Force, which has a lion as a symbol because Khalistan, his leadership there. They didn't like, again. So when I sussed out a lot of it, you know, I did it politely and just found some inconsistencies, which, listen, sometimes people reach out to you in this world and they try and slip you information. You have to be able to vet who's reliable, who's not reliable in a way. And, you know, I'm sort of like, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar on this. And, you know, if you kind of like let your guard down.
Are you at least getting a sense that these could be the same people? Are you getting a sense, Daniel, that in that case, that these are the same people, possibly the same set of people who have influenced the position of the Trudeau government when it comes to the Khalistani issue? And it's more ideological than factual. It's more akin to the emotional truth version of Hassan Minhaj rather than based on hard facts about what Khalistan ideology really is.
Maybe. Again, I don't really know the motivations of these people. Some of them, it might have been like purely political. Some of it might have just been on their own volition. You know, some of them might have really believed it. I mean, there is ideological brainwashing among the, you know, Western left to be anti-India right now and to believe all the lies about, you know, what's going on there. And, you know, far-right Hindu nationalism, very scary. That plays really well to a lot of people. So maybe someone really had my best interest at heart, you know, got a hold of me and was trying to legitimately help me because they didn't understand the issue. But my thing was I was able to accurately assess that they didn't understand the issue. I mean, if someone called me with a comprehensive understanding of the Khalistani issue and said, listen, this is what Najaro is up to, but we got to protect our sovereignty. Here's some stuff. Here's some actual evidence. You know, I'm sending you this file. Be careful. Like, here's some stuff that I can show you that right. Here's evidence that your position is wrong or something or whatever. And they had some deep knowledge and incisive commentary. I would have paid more attention to that, but none of them had
right.
Like they couldn't. I mean, not even deep knowledge. Like, they couldn't get into the shallow end of the pool on this issue. So I kind of brushed it off and kept going. But the point was more after Congress made the statement in support, and like the people who, you know, have and it's also not. It's not just people calling me. I've seen this narrative out there in the ether about, you know, what's going on in India right now. So I kind of felt it's important where, you know, people are trying to sell to the Jewish community that, oh no, Congress is the one that would be on your side, and the BJP, they're very anti-Semitic. I felt it was necessary at this time to say, you know, here's my experience with this, here's what it is, and here's why this is disinformation. And I just thought it was the right time to make that point from like a personal perspective of like, you know, I get it more because again, I'm running around in media all day. So people are trying to call me, and, you know, could it have been an intelligence spook from CSIS trying to, you know, undermine me? Maybe. I have no idea. Was it someone in the Liberal Party or someone NDP? Maybe. Or was it just a guy who legitimately wanted to reach out and help me, but got it all wrong? I don't know. But I do know that this narrative that is out there, you know, that was the narrative they used to undermine the Jewish community with the anti-Zionist movement. The anti-Zionist movement has now been, you know, rejigged a little bit to be an anti-India movement. And my big point, and what I wanted to really do, is try and, you know, quash that before it grows, because it's a really dangerous ideology.
Daniel,
and I've seen firsthand how it affects Jews, and how it gets us harassed and attacked at universities, and I don't want to see another community go through that. So it was more of a, all right, I'll say something here.
Daniel, you know, with the kind of reactions that have come in from India, led by Prime Minister Modi and the rest of the nation, I think all that propaganda and narrative should stand demolished about where India stands vis-a-vis Israel and the Jews and the Jewish nation. But let's move on. You know, we have had those tweets coming in from Justin Trudeau, where he has been calling up world leaders, and while talking about the dastardly terror attack by Hamas on Israel, he has been slipping in that one line that he spoke to these world leaders about India and the international rule of law. I mean, really, are we any closer? It's been about a month since he went public with his standoff and the position that he took against India. Are we any closer? You are there you are there in Toronto, near Ottawa. Are we any closer to any evidence, any shred of evidence connecting Hardeep Singh Nijjar with India on the ground there?
No, not really. Listen, I'm not part of CSIS. I'm not in the intelligence briefings. If they have this top secret piece of intelligence they haven't released, then they still have it. But again, Trudeau's running around being a terrible foreign policy diplomat. You should not be dragging the UAE and Jordan and other countries who just don't care about this issue into this issue. This is bad. Like, now you're ruining a relationship with those countries, because then they're like, okay, we don't want to talk to Canada, because if we talk to Canada, they're just going to start saying something about our other allies and drag us into the middle of this nonsense. So bad policy move on that front. And as I said, like Justin Trudeau, I said he made the right move when he said, let's make this private. We don't want to talk in public. Let's just privately solve this. And it lasted a few days until let's talk privately turned into let's take random jabs at India and drag other countries into it. So
he should have stopped those protests from happening in Toronto in support of Hamas.
Yeah, I mean, there's all over the West. There's rallies in support of Hamas. They are celebrations of murder, rape, and torture. Right? Even before the Israelis responded, the Palestinian supporters were on the streets of the West celebrating the images you saw.
Right.
And some people were horrified when they saw the images. Some people were shocked and saddened when they heard that 40 babies were decapitated, Jewish babies, and they found them today.
Yeah.
And some people are overjoyed, filled with bloodlust, and want to celebrate. And we're starting to see the face of what these people are like. And even Justin Trudeau was forced to condemn it. And Justin Trudeau is a man who vociferously defended returning ISIS fighters coming to Canada, calling them a powerful voice for de-radicalization. Hamas went so far, and their supporters are so morally deranged that even Justin Trudeau, who has never met a terrorist organization he hasn't wanted to throw at least $10 million at, is forced to come on TV and say this is bad.
But the same Justin Trudeau, Daniel, the same Justin Trudeau who made his government crack down, or made his police crack down on those truckers protesting, remained a mute spectator when these supporters of Hamas were out there in the streets in Toronto and Vancouver and Ottawa and wherever. But unfortunately, that's how Justin Trudeau is. Trudeau being Trudeau. Thank you so much, Daniel, on that note. Thank you very much. We come to an end of this conversation. Short break on the other side. Arnab Goswami is back with the debate.
In the India Today Best Universities 2023 survey, released recently, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.